Welcome back to Crisco's Corner, unfiltered commentary, not your truth, the real truth. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi folks, welcome back. This is a first for me. Never did a story on BBC, of all things. Even though I love England, I've been there twice in the early 80s, Scotland and Wales. It's incredibly beautiful. I love the old buildings in history. But like most parliamentary governments, how does Trump say it? Everybody that goes woke is a loser, and everything woke touches turns to shit. I got to make this clear because I'm in YouTube jail for 90 days with a community strike. I am not advocating for not taking a vaccine. For a vaccine, consult your physician. Do what is right for you and your health. That is between you and your doctor. I'm not talking about mandates. I'm not talking about anything. This is a story only about England. COVID, face mask rules and COVID passes to end in England. Those are the passes to get in restaurants, bars, things like that. England's Plan B measures are to end next Thursday with mandatory face coverings in public places, and COVID passports both dropped, Boris Johnson announced. Now, I'm not so sure if he's doing this because it's the right thing to do, or he's trying to save his ass politically. I'm not so sure. Next Thursday is my daughter's birthday, so happy birthday to her. This will be a birthday present in a weird way. The Prime Minister also said the government would immediately drop its advice for people to work from home. In other words, you can't be remote anymore. The Prime Minister said England was reverting to Plan A due to boosters and how people have followed Plan B measures. If you and your doctor decide you should get boosters, then get boosters. I am not anti-vax. Even President Trump is not anti-vax, nor am I telling people about alternative medications. I have to keep saying that throughout this video, and it's ridiculous when I cover this topic or the election in 2020, so I don't get another strike. At Downing Street press conference, Health Secretary Saeed Javid said, "This is a moment we can all be proud of. It's a reminder of what this country can accomplish when we all work together." Yeah. People are so PO'd that you're going to lose politically. It's amazing to me. When we all work together, no. When we all do stuff that people hate and they take to the streets and protest, then we decide that we're not going to do it anymore, and that's working together. But he said he should not be seen as the finish line because the virus and future variants cannot be eradicated. Instead, we must learn to live with COVID in the same way we live with flu. And for that, I have to give this guy, he's probably an ultra-progressive nut barf, but that statement I believe in. He urged people to continue taking steps to keep the virus at bay, of course, common sense, including hand washing, ventilating rooms, and self-isolating if positive. Yes, if you test positive, don't be an ass. Don't be around people, especially people you love or live with, or your co-workers, or whatever it is. Or you work with the public, your customers. I had a store for over 20 years. Of course. And press those who are unvaccinated to come forward to get their jabs. And I love how they did that in England. They call it jabs. Earlier in a statement to the MPs in the House of Commons, that's members of Parliament, for those of you who don't know, the Prime Minister said mandatory COVID passports for entering nightclubs and large events would end, though organizations could choose to use the NHS COVID pass if they wish. That I don't like. That I don't like at all. It's kind of like what Carhartt did here. I'm not saying I'm anti-vax. Consult your doctor and do what's best for you. It's just, that's a lot. I mean, I had a business for a long time. I guess this is in the United States, so the Constitution doesn't apply, so I guess maybe things are different. People would no longer be advised to work from home and should discuss their return to offices with employers. That's going to be a huge issue. People don't want to go back. They found out what it's like to work from home, and they like it. They found out that they can do a lot of things from home, all the things in their job. They get up when they're supposed to go to work. They probably log in on the computer to show that they're there. They do their job. They can sit in their PJs all day if they want. They can listen to music if they're not on a Zoom call or a Skype call. They can listen to music. They can listen to podcasts. You can even have small kids there if you don't do a lot of conference calls. Like I said, Skype and whatever. And they've got a lot more freedom. No more commuting. Some people commute 45 minutes, an hour one way to work, going through public transportation, subways, as they say in England, tubes. They don't want to do all that hassle anymore. It's going to be tough getting them back. Face masks will longer be mandated, though people should be advised to wear coverings or in enclosed or crowded spaces and when meeting strangers. Again, just plain old common sense. From Thursday, secondary school pupils will no longer have to wear face masks in classrooms, and government guidance on their use in communal area should be removed shortly. I got to give that one a round of applause. I'm not saying that kids should wear them. Kids shouldn't wear them. I applaud England for doing that for their children. Again, I got to say these things over and over because I'm in YouTube jail. Further announcements on the easing of travel rules and restrictions on care home visits in England are expected in the coming days, Boris Johnson added. Also, excellent. The Prime Minister also said the government intended to end the legal requirement for people who test positive for COVID to self-isolate and replace it with advice and guidance. Yeah, you find out somebody, you get 8 or 9 police, drag them something, it's ridiculous. Just trust people to do the right thing. They're all not going to do it. But I think people deep down inside want to do the right thing. The current regulations around self-isolation expire in March. Mr. Johnson said he expected not to renew them then and suggested that the date would be brought forward if the data allows. Now, my understanding is, at least the history of the COVID virus from its beginnings in early 2020 in the United States, England is usually about a week ahead of the United States. That's the research that I've done. And their cases are dropping like stones in the UK. So, next week, 10, 12 days, we should start seeing an ease up if the pattern still follows. And this is the Plan B measures. Guidance to work from home has ended. COVID passes are gone. Legal requirement to self-isolate if you test positive for COVID will remain for now. That's more than reasonable. Studying the latest infection study by the Office of National Statistics, Mr. Johnson said its data showed that infectious levels were falling in England. He also said hospital admissions had stabilized, and scientists believe it was likely that the Omicron wave has now peaked nationally. All good news. However, he said he'd expect cases to continue rising in primary schools and pointed to significant pressure on the National Health Service in northeast and northwest England. South is where the major populations are, for anybody that's wondering. Looking ahead, Mr. Johnson said the government would set out its long-term strategy for living with coronavirus. He urged people to remain cautious during the next weeks of winter as there are still significant pressures on the NHS and the pandemic was not over. Now, anybody that's ever been to England right now is the dead of winter there. It's towards the end of January in the northern hemisphere, especially that far north is winter. And it's dark. I would guess probably 18, 19 hours in the dead of winter. It's dark. Now, when I was there in the summertime, in the early 80s, it was mostly light. It's just the polar opposite. I don't think people understand how far north England really is compared to the United States. You can look at a map and see across from Canada, but it has the ocean currents keep it a moderate temperature, even though it's so far north. So it's creepy as heck. That's 11 o'clock at night and it's still fairly light out. And then it gets dark. And then about 2 in the morning, it gets light again. It's the polar opposite in the winter. So there's probably a lot of depressed people. So this is probably a good time for this to happen. So I'm not going to go through the whole rest of this, but you get the idea. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, I don't know if they're making the rules less strict because of backlash from people or from scientists or both. I'm not so sure because they are elected people, they are politicians, and they're all the same. All they can save their own behinds. I'm assuming it's mostly scientific with a little bit of politics, but I'm not an expert on English politics, and I really don't know, but I know this is good news. This is a big country as far as influence socially, economically, and maybe the dominoes will start falling from here. So, like I said, consult with your physician and do what's best for you. I'm not anti-vax, so I have to say that again. COVID, face mask rules and COVID passes to end in England. This is the first time I ever did a story from the BBC. Hopefully it won't be the last. But if good stories like this come out, I'll definitely go back to the BBC again. Until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.